Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today we're going to continue on our engine side of this engine harness. I've already broke out for the igniters. These guys just need to get twisted up, and heat shrunk. So we'll twist these up real quick. And then we're gonna do a breakout on this other part of the harness, where we're gonna bring out the starter, oil temp, oil pressure, fuel pressure. And we're just gonna make sure our twist is nice and clean and uniform. Okay, so that just gives you a basic idea of what I'm doing here. Okay, so here we're gonna bring out the actual starter, the wires. These are my powers that actually go to the starter. So these feed the relays on the relay panel. This is my power in, so. And then on the relay panel, it's fused. So there's a fuse, basically this end of this wire on the engine, on the relay side. Okay, so over here we're going to take fuel pressure, oil pressure, our 5-volt reference, and our 2 0-volts. So we're going to bring these all the way up here. We want to keep our twist. All this is going to get covered again with a boot. So we'll just start this. This is only going to be 5 inches, so to about there. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is actually a zip tie or cable tie cutter made by Hillerman. You can set your tension depending on what size zip tie you're using, and it cuts it flush, so there's no sharp edge at all. And then I also, a lot of time I just use flush cuts, good flush cuts. These are snap-on. So that said, all right, so we have all this. So this, and this guy out. So now we're gonna twist this next section. So we also have our power to the coil unplug coming out here. So we'll push those out. Let's see if we have anything else. I have the starter, oil. Okay, no. So now we're going to, we have another twist. And I'm just gonna do this because I just feel like maybe we'll just do a little bit on camera and then I'll come off to finish it. So we're gonna do a twist. And this will go to our next leg, and then we'll be able to heat shrink all of this, finish it, and then we'll move to the next leg. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and shrink up this sections. I went and twisted them, finished twisting, and added the heat shrink to them. So we're going to go ahead and heat shrink this. And when you're doing the heat shrink, you just want it, you don't want to over shrink it, so you don't want to put heat on it to where it actually shrinks it to where it becomes hard or more rigid. You just want to take the slack. By touching it, you'll know that there's not a pocket. Doing it for as long as I have, I can tell just by looking at it. As you watch it, you'll see it start to shrink, and then it will you want it nice and smooth. And this is DR25, so this is a mil spec heat shrink, but I highly recommend using at least something close to this quality. Some of the 3M stuff you can buy, it's real thin, it's really not. It has no abrasion resistance. So it's always better to use a better quality product that costs only a few dollars more in the end. And it's really well worth it. So we'll get these. Done. Okay. So that gets all that done. And we'll add some heat shrink for these two guys, and then we'll be able to tape this and put the boot on it. So now I got this all hung, these two pieces heat shrunk. So we're gonna add ourselves a zip tie right here. Get everything kind of so it looks uniform here in this joint. Okay. Grab some 1-inch tape. And we'll give this a good wrap. Okay. So on this, since we're not really using a boot, on this, my customer, we use SCL. So this will be a piece of 3/4. And this will reduce by half. So this will shrink down to 1/2 inch. So we'll put this on. Through all these loose ends. Cut this off. And then we'll set this up. To where I want it. And the difference of really, the difference of me doing boots on a harness like this, if this harness was all boots and no SCL, the difference is really only about maybe $150 that it would add to the cost. And it's you know, the boots just really make it even nicer. But it comes at just a little bit higher cost. It's like I've done harnesses in the past for people and they're like, well, why do you have to use that Tefzel wire? Well, in the end of the job, it's like $40 or $50. So why wouldn't you use the best product you can buy? So it's like boots. So this boot would probably be a 121 or yeah, 121 probably. And that boot's about $8. So this boot, probably about $8. So when you add it up, it's really not that much more money. But I do definitely understand the cost when clients are looking at stuff too from my side. So I've got the igniter circuits, the wiring heat shrunk, and then we're already glued here. So all we need to do is add our pieces of SCL. Like that. Okay, so let's shrink that. Nice, we'll go all the way around it just so that it seals up. And you notice again on these pieces that I'm doing, you don't see the gap between this harness and my pieces of SCL coming in this way, or my heat shrink, right? So that it's just super clean, and that's a big part of why we tape it. But on the other side, we tape so that down the road, these can't slide out. So they're, once the heat shrink goes on with the glue, it'll help to really secure it. So with the tape under there, this piece of heat shrink can't slide out of the boot. So we're just gonna add a zip tie here. And a zip tie here. And I zip tie all these joints regardless. Even when I do boots, I still just put a little zip tie. It gives us just a little extra added strength. And from people, you know, you put these harnesses on and off, people tugging on them and stuff. You don't want to have it get distorted. So we're getting close to being at the end of the initial build. We only have a few sections. This is idle valve and air temp. And then we're gonna use, this will be lambda 2 and the injectors for 4, 5, and 6. So as I get this all completed, and then we'll prep for the next step. The next step will be labeling the harness. But first of all, I think we'll do a nice overview of what we just did. And then we'll label it, and then we'll start putting the connectors on it. And I will... Okay, so we have the harness built to this point right now. Next step's gonna be to trim it, label it, and start putting the connectors on. So we'll start doing that here shortly. Yesterday I had talked about when we epoxy these joints, so you can see there that joint's all epoxied, and I have one on the other end on the ECU side. This is the product that we use for that. It's Resin Tech RT125. All of this material, the SCL, the heat shrink, wire, you name it. I buy my supplies mostly through ProWire USA. So give that website a check. They pretty much have anything you're gonna need for your project. Okay, so I started labeling up the harness, and I figured I'd do a few of these labels on screen. these labels get printed in off of a label printer, a heat shrink label printer, and then we cover them with a clear heat shrink to protect them from dirt, grease, and grime. And the label printer I used is a Croy, model number 4350, and it just ties into a simple laptop computer. So I'm gonna cut, this is the clear heat shrink, and I'm pretty good at eyeballing it for knowing my lengths. And then we just overlay it and shrink it, and then it seals it right up. And if it's a little too large, I always cut it down a little bit, just a little trim. I guess you could leave it long, but I like to keep everything uniform. There's that. Let's do number 2. And then we'll do the lambda. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera. And then when I come back, we'll be starting to do all the connectors. And we'll be close to finish. This clear comes in all diameters, so it comes from 8, 3/16, quarter, 3/8, ½ inch, 3/4, and I think 1 inch. And there we got it. So I only have a few more to label here. So I'll get that done, and then we'll get moving on to the next step. So since I was talking about the labeler, this is the Croy printer, and I've got multiple widths of heat shrink, comes off of a spool, and then the software is real simple. It's called Bartender. It's made for doing barcoding. But that's the software this uses, and I just enter everything in, and then I hit print, and it prints the label. So now that we have everything labeled, we're going to go ahead and start terminating this harness. So we're going to start out by terminating these LK2s for the injectors. And the LK2 connector uses a little bit shorter pin than the LK3s, 4s, 5s. And I'll show you the difference here in just a minute. But again, we want to use this crimper. It's across the board. It's the best crimper I found for doing all of these pins. And then on the seal side, we use this WeatherPack crimper. And that just makes it perfect there. So so we'll do a couple of these guys, and then I'll go ahead and finish terminating the harness off. There's a few Deutsch connectors that get installed, like on the Lambda here. It's going to get a 6-pin. This is our TPS. It actually utilizes a 4, and then in this cavity we'll stick a plug in it. So we'll cap it so nothing can get in there. So we'll just do a couple of these guys. And just as a rule of thumb, I kind of strip my wires all about the same. It's about 3/16. But as you look at the crimping area of this pin, you just want to make sure that you crimp the maximum, that the stripping of the wire exceeds the crimp area just by a little bit. And I do so many of these, it's like second nature, just by sight. Okay, so that's that. We'll do a LK3 here, and I'm going to show you the difference in the pins. So this is LK2, and this is LK3. So the pin on an LK3 sits in so the difference is actually fairly minimal, like that, as you can see. But it's just how it sits. So if I put an LK3 and an LK2, the seal will actually stick out of the connector. So I don't know why they did it that way. They just did. So I just accommodate by design. And I have everything organized in these little tubs here for all the different pins that I use. And I'm going to do a shop with just a quick video and kind of show the shop and all of my product that I have and how I organize it. And that'll be just like a little short, YouTube short I'll do. So anyway, we'll get these done. Make sure they're straight. Okay, so that's simple, but that's how I do the crimping. So we'll be back when we do the connectors. So one thing that I just realized that I would like to show you is this is my ref sensor, and this shield is actually going to go into the connector. But instead of using one of the solder splices, I'm going to show you how I pull these wires out. So I just take a hook and I push the shielding back, and then I'm able to open up a gap. And then I'll take my hook and I'll kind of sneak it around here, and then I'll pull those out. This guy, I'll just take it and I'll twist this up like that. And then I'm able to terminate it from this position. So I'm able to twist a seal down on it, just nice and easy, until I get enough out like that. And then I'll just crimp this. And there you have, we have the seal is crimped. The shield itself, I'm sorry. And then I'll do this, and this will go into a connector where it connects onto the reference sensor. So reference sensor, crank sensor, sync is cam. They get different, some people call them cam sensor, and some people call it sync. Motec side of it, everything's based off of ref and sync. That's the terminology that they use. So that's the terminology I use typically. So when I label stuff, it'll be ref or sync. And it doesn't really matter if I'm doing an LS motor or a Honda or whatever. That's what I call it. So the other thing that we're going to do is I have another harness I'm going to build, and I've got it drawn up, but it's for a 6-cylinder, and we're going to touch base on that probably next week. So, and my big project car is coming in today. Okay, so now I've got everything terminated here, and now we can go ahead and install our connectors. These are injectors. Has a little lock here. Just push it in and we're done. And pin 1 is the injector signal, and pin B on these is my power in. So we'll just do these real quick. Nice and simple. Lock, lock. So this is resonance. So kind of the same way. So typically on connectors, even Deutsch, I always put the signal or the trigger to pin 1 and power on pin 2. So if I'm even wiring a light and it's a 2-pin connector, the power goes to pin 2 and the output goes to the pin 1. So okay, so we've got another crossover there. We're missing a couple of connectors. So this is our going to our I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, move my camera. So these are my igniters. So I'm going to pin these up real quick. And the lock on this is this little tab that folds back over the wires. So we got that. And just like that. So that's pin 1. And this guy. Split all this out. Put a lock. Okay. Do a couple more of these, then I'll kind of go and finish off camera. I know it gets pretty boring just watching me do this kind of stuff. And if it doesn't, just leave it in the comments if you would rather see some content to where I actually just kind of run the video the whole time. But I'm trying to get these videos down to like 15 to 18 minutes, maybe 20 on the outside. I think it'll keep interest, and it'll keep me just focusing on the key things in the video, so that you can get more out of it. So this is our idle valve, and the power for the idle valve is in the center. There we go. Let's see, we got air temp. So that monitors our intake air temperature into the ECU. And then this guy, I noticed, turn this back a little bit. There we go. So anyway, this harness is pretty much going to be done. I'm actually going to show you how I go ahead and pin it out, make sure everything's correct. That'll be coming up here shortly. And then this project will be complete. So happy that everybody stuck with me through this that did. And I look forward to bringing you lots of content. So we're going to build several harnesses. So if there's things that you missed or maybe I didn't touch on, if you want to add that to the comments, that would be great also. And that way I can make sure that the next video I gather that information to share. So, but anyway, I'll finish this up real quick and we'll be back when we're ready to pin it out. So there we have it. Everything's done, labeled, connectors pinned out, and ready to go on a vehicle. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the series of what I'm trying to do. So please smash that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll keep bringing you content at least once to twice a week.